In news that I am sure will come as a shock to absolutely no one who's been paying attention, the Senate is set to acquit Donald Trump in his impeachment trial by the time you listen to today's show, by the time you watch this segment. It may already have happened. It may be soon to happen. It may be happening tomorrow. Now, let me do something here. If you've not been following the situation in the Senate, and I actually, over the weekend, I talked to some friends who said, I haven't seen anything. I said, you're better off, quite frankly. You might wonder, why is it not shocking that Trump is going to be found not guilty in his impeachment trial? Well, if you've not been following the trial, you might think that this is a trial like a normal trial where the jurors, the 100 senators in the Senate, will come in with an open mind. They will hear the evidence. They will welcome evidence, and then they will evaluate the facts to decide whether an impeachment conviction of Donald Trump makes sense, or otherwise, whether an acquittal of Donald Trump makes sense. That's what you might think if you had not been paying attention at all, in which case I envy you. But that's not the situation we have. We knew in advance that because there are 53 Republican senators in the Senate, and you need 67 senators to vote to convict in order to get a conviction in an impeachment trial in the Senate, Republicans had made it clear they planned to acquit in advance. We knew that Trump was going to be found not guilty no matter what happened. Now, unfortunately, it's even worse because it's not just that Republican senators decided in advance that they were going to acquit Donald Trump, but they went through and at least pretended to be handling this like a normal trial. It's worse than that. Republicans voted on Friday not to even hear from witnesses, firsthand witnesses, while claiming for months that the problem is we don't have any firsthand witnesses here. And this is why the term cover up is increasingly being used to describe what is a sham impeachment trial. Now, Republicans have been using the term sham, not a sham like a sham wow, the type we would use, a terry cloth, a dish towel that you would use to clean things. They've been using the term sham to describe the mere fact that Donald Trump was impeached by the House. And of course, it's often projection. There was a sham here, but the sham was that this was anything like a real trial. And in a way, I know I've said before, and a lot of people don't like when I say this, that Mitch McConnell has been an extremely valuable asset to Republicans and one of the most effective Republican tools. And I say that not in the pejorative way, but a very useful tool to Republicans. You've got to hand it to them. Republicans have played this really, really well. At the start of the trial, Democrats wanted to decide, are we going to have witnesses? Are we going to have documents? Are we going to issue subpoenas? And Republicans said, let's figure that out later. Of course, Republicans had the majority, so they got it. Republicans successfully said, let's do 64 hours of trial first, 24 hours of House impeachment managers, 24 hours of Trump's attorneys, 16 hours of senator questions. Let's do all of that first, and then we will decide about witnesses. And every time that Democrats stood up and said, I have an amendment for the proceedings where we will decide now about witnesses, Republicans said, we already have a plan for that. We're going to do that after 64 hours of proceedings. In any other trial, it would not have been done this way. In any other trial, you decide first about witnesses and evidence so that both sides can build their cases around the witnesses and the documents that would be part of the trial. But Republicans control the Senate, and they got their way. And then we saw last week, we talked about this during my live streams, as the 64 hours of proceedings were starting to reach the end, Republicans started to slip in this line that we noticed, which is once we're done with these 64 hours, we'll decide whether we really need to hear more. And it's evil genius because they started making it about, have we had enough hours of trial? When really the issue is not, do we need 64 or 84 or 104 hours of trial? The issue is, are there material firsthand witnesses who could testify? And the answer is yes. Former National Security Advisor John Bolton. Remember, Republicans said nobody here is a firsthand witness. It was a lie. Vindman was a firsthand witness. We had others. But John Bolton would unquestionably be a firsthand witness. They don't want him. Bolton saying in his upcoming book, and likely would say the same thing under oath, which is Donald Trump personally told me, hold the aid to Ukraine until they publicly smear Joe Biden. That's a firsthand witness. They don't want it. Rudy's henchman, Lev Parnas, he has recordings. He is now, we have, by the way, a second video in which he is meeting with Donald Trump. He was putting physical surveillance on Ambassador Marie Yovanovitch. He's a firsthand participant. Nah, we don't need to hear him, Republicans say. The acquittal means nothing, but it also means everything to the people who just want to be let off the hook so they can vote for Trump in November of 2020. If you complain about no firsthand witnesses and simultaneously block firsthand witnesses, you are not an honest actor. You are not a good faith participant. So let's just cut to the end of the story, because I think most of you know where this is going. As I've said on the show since, is it April of 2017? The Mueller probe was never going to remove Donald Trump. The 25th Amendment, no matter how bad Trump gets cognitively, will not be used to remove Donald Trump. Impeachment, or impeachment, as some of our angry right-wing emailers say, impeachment was never going to remove Donald Trump. Are you going to remove Donald Trump is the question, because the single and solitary way to do it is to vote in such overwhelming numbers in November that even election tampering, even foreign interference, even voter purges, as have been happening in a number of different states, won't be enough to get him reelected. I agree with you that the way this has gone is disgusting and it's not really a trial. But at a certain point, we've got to play the hand that's dealt in the game that everybody else is playing, as opposed to insisting we'd rather be playing a different game or have a different hand. And that's the last option we have. The question in terms of the repercussions of the impeachment acquittal is now the one that I've been suggesting for several weeks or months. Is the acquittal going to reinvigorate Trump supporters who will feel that Trump has been vindicated instead of just being the beneficiary of a sham trial? Mitch McConnell, grinning ear to ear, and we knew he would be, always proof something bad happened if Mitch McConnell is happy, by the way. Trump is tweeting vindication and attacks on Democrats, but there has been no vindication. His followers will believe there was one. And so we have to do this thing. And it starts today. It starts today with the Iowa caucuses, because you can bet your ass that the next cover up is going to be much worse, because there are no consequences. Some people went to prison because of the Mueller probe. Yes. Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman, we don't know what's going to happen to them. But in context, compared to what they've gotten away with, there have really been no consequences. The only countervailing force here is such a crushingly massive defeat in November that they can't use their dirty tricks of voter suppression, foreign interference, election tampering, all that stuff, that they won't be able to use that to win. And otherwise, it's over, folks. I mean, we just have to recognize it's another 4 years of this with all of the garbage that comes with it. Hillary Clinton now is saying things publicly that are only going to help Donald Trump, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. It's a mess. So let's take step one. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Feel like it's a very prescient a proverb in the context of the Trump administration. Let's take step one tonight in Iowa. Go and participate. Let's have a clean caucus. We'll have live coverage on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook tonight as the results come in. Join me. And then tomorrow we will take step two.